Hello, Winehavers. My name is Jesse Meekum from You Need a Budget. Yes, you do. And this is another Whiteboard Wednesday. Today I want to talk about a fine and nuanced distinction, but I think it will become clear as it relates to planning, which is a fancy word, well, not so fancy, for budgeting, and forecasting. So really, we'll just work our way down the list, and then we're going to work our way over here to that. Planning. You have the money on hand, and you're asking yourself, rule 1, what does this money need to do before we're paid again? Rule 2, looking ahead, what does this money need to do before we're paid again? Rule 3, should we change anything? What should this money do now that we have new information? And then rule 4, making sure the money's old and asking yourself that question is a nice place to be. But the money's on hand, so it's more meaningful. With forecasting, the money is hoped for. Sometimes the forecast can be fairly accurate. Jesse, I'm on salary. It's always the same. Fair enough. A lot more people aren't on a super regimented income stream. Most aren't. Most have fluctuations. And so forecasting with money hoped for, it starts to lead toward these things that we'll work down the list here. In planning, you tend to be more realistic because you're dealing with a finite, fixed amount of money. In forecasting, you start to have other things kind of enter into the equation. You don't necessarily look at your priorities with rule 1 as concretely because they're allowed to be a little more fluid when money is hoped for and not on hand. So priorities suddenly become less clear, which is where we get, scarcity and clarity here. With a finite amount of money, you either are eating or you're paying the utility bill. I mean, you'd hope that wouldn't be the case, but in that instance, you would be extremely, extremely clear on what are my priorities. Paying this credit card bill, I'm super late and I need to also buy groceries. Your priorities are the food, clearly. So priorities do become crystal clear when there's scarcity. And that's part of planning. We manufacture scarcity using rule 1. We create it for you so that your priorities start to really bubble up and the ones that are important really shine. In forecasting, because the money is just hoped for, you can be a little more hand-wavy there. And you can say, oh, well, we should have enough for that. We'll probably have enough for that. And so your priorities aren't as fine-tuned as they could be when you're planning with money on hand, being realistic, and because you're only dealing with money on hand, you always have scarcity, always. This leads to being more concrete about what you want, what you desire, what your goals are, what you have to do, your obligations. Forecasting becomes more nebulous. It's not as effective because there's no framework within which you can make these decisions. You don't have walls, and if you were to go to an interior decorator and say, hey, I need you to decorate my house, and the interior decorator walks into the house and there are no walls. And you say, oh no, the walls will come later. I really need you to decorate and think through everything. Where will the furniture go? How will that work? Where should we hang art? And the decorator says, well, where are the walls? They'll come later. I just want you to kind of imagine walls and then decorate. That you can see how that could go awry. So with being nebulous, we're just back into this weak territory where we aren't really questioning our values. We aren't questioning what we really want because we're allowed to just kind of say, oh, I think I want a little bit of everything. Finally, planning is effective. Forecasting is fun. It really is fun. Gosh, Julie, what if YNAB just made it huge? Wouldn't it be fun if? And then we have this fun 5-minute conversation as we're driving somewhere. Wow, what if that's fun. Does it mean anything? Not really. When we sit down for the month and budget with money we have on hand, that's effective. Sure, you can have fun. You can, oh, well, what if I get this raise? Oh, that'll be great. What would we do with the raise? Oh, we'd go on vacation, whatever. That's fun. And forecasting is part of that. Motivates you a little bit. It gets you excited. Maybe it even lets you relax a little bit and lets you feel a little optimistic. Totally cool. Now, as you're budgeting, this is the last point. This is a jet boat. And as you're budgeting, you get to this point, and Julie and I will get there, and I'll use the jet boat tactic to kind of bring us back in. This happens a lot with planning vacation or Christmas, right? we get really excited. So we start thinking, okay, what about this? What about that? Getting excitement, and pretty soon I feel like we're planning this vacation, and we're honestly talking about things that aren't at all realistic. And if one of us catches it, usually it's me, because Julie gets extra excited. I'll just suddenly throw out there, hey, and for Christmas, what if we also got a jet boat? And then that's her signal that maybe we went a little bit too much into the nebulous forecasting money hoped for instead of reality. This tactic I learned from a friend also works if you're in an awkward conversation. So just this is a little pro tip at the end of this Whiteboard Wednesday. You can use it to rein yourselves in on forecasting. Just say, oh, we could also get a jet boat. That works. Or if you're ever in a situation where the conversation's kind of died and it's feeling awkward, you just tell people you're thinking about getting a jet boat. And that tends to liven the conversation right back up. So with that extra non-budgeting tip and with a jet boat tip to lead your budgeting efforts, just if you start to go over here, just throw something out there that's totally goofy, because you're recognizing, hey, we're kind of in no man's land. This isn't effective. Sure, it's fun, but let's make sure it's still effective. Let's get our budgeting done. Money on hand. We're being realistic. We're embracing scarcity because that's clarity. Things are concrete. Priorities are concrete. Real decisions are being made. It's effective. I'll see you guys next week.